Hey there, in today's video, we are going to talk about how if you have ever felt brain fog, anxiety, mood swings, extreme fatigue, feeling kind of crazy, getting intrusive thoughts, and you've been to all the doctors, you've done all the tests, and nobody can figure out what is going on or why, mold exposure can be the hidden culprit behind that. So in today's video, we are diving into how mold can impact your brain and what you can do to protect your mental health. This is super important. So if you are new here, I'm Ashley. I'm an integrative health specialist. I help people with mold toxicity, hormone imbalances, anxiety and panic attacks, and sleep issues. If you would like to work with me, all the links that you need are in the description of this video. So let's dive in. Mold, real quick, if you are not familiar with it, produces something called mycotoxins. So these are tiny toxins that can travel through your bloodstream and cross into the brain. It's called the blood-brain barrier. When this happens, it can trigger neuroinflammation, oxidative stress, and it can even disrupt your neurotransmitters. So your neurotransmitters are chemicals that help regulate your mood, focus, and memory. So these are things like serotonin, dopamine, GABA. It helps regulate your happiness, your ability to sleep. It also affects things like melatonin, which is all about your ability to stay asleep and fall asleep. So it's really important. So some of the common symptoms that your blood-brain barrier has been compromised: brain fog, anxiety, panic attacks, depression, poor concentration, and sleep disturbances. With mold, it is very common that sleep is a huge thing. And typically what happens is you might fall asleep and then a couple hours later you jolt, wake up, your heart is racing, like your head is spinning, you might have a little bit of vertigo, and you can't go back to sleep. Your body is in fight or flight. So with this is where those mycotoxins are causing neuroinflammation and impacting your brain and neurotransmitters, and it's putting you in that fight or flight state. So typically, how I explain it is when we have fight or flight, it's because our body senses something in our environment that is a threat and a danger. The problem is when you go to sleep at night, your brain actually is detoxing. Your whole body is, your liver, your kidney, all your organs detox at night while you sleep. Your brain being one of those, when it goes to detox, because mold affects melatonin, melatonin in the brain is a huge antioxidant that you need. When your brain's trying to detox and you got this mold toxicity going on, your brain triggers that fight or flight response that wakes you up and jolts you up because it senses a threat in the environment and it's telling you you need to get out. The problem is it doesn't understand that the environment is internal because the mold is inside. So that's part of what happens with this. So it's really important to understand this because sometimes, and I mean, with all of this, I always like to say, this is not medical advice. This is just for educational purposes only. If you are looking for a personalized protocol or personalized plans and recommendations to help you with mold toxicity, I recommend booking a one-on-one call with me where we will do a thorough health history. We'll do an assessment. We'll go over labs. We'll talk about supplements and nutrients and all those things. So where I was headed with that is a lot of times when clients are having this issue with sleep and dealing with mold toxicity, sometimes incorporating low dose melatonin is a game changer for getting quality sleep, not having those same things. You have to be careful with how much melatonin you take because melatonin is a hormone and we don't want to overdo it, but it is also a very protective antioxidant for your brain. So that's one of the things is a lot of people don't realize mold doesn't just impact your body, it can impact your mind. And research actually links chronic mold exposure to long-term cognitive difficulties, irritability, increased anxiety, ADHD, things like that. And oftentimes it's sad because people often get misdiagnosed with these symptoms with things such as, oh, it's just stress, or oh, it's ADHD, or it's just depression, or we just want to give you Zoloft or sleep medications or whatever the latest prescription drug is without actually looking at the root cause that there is something in the internal environment that is triggering this neural inflammation, causing a lot of mental health issues. One of the things that's very interesting with mold toxicity and mental health with like other than sleep is the impact it has on blood pressure, but also in the inflammation in the brain, that sometimes people struggling with mold toxicity have a connection that on cloudy days, rainy days when there's more moisture and it's more damp in the air, but also when there's those fluctuators and barometric pressure, that tends to be some of the hardest days because it triggers a lot of stuff. It triggers a lot of that inflammation. It affects the blood pressure. It triggers anxiety and panic attacks and things like that without any real cause. Unfortunately, and this is why I do these videos, is because a lot of times not every mental health thing is related to mold, but usually things like anxiety, panic attacks, depression, OCD, intrusive thoughts, ADHD, there is a root cause that's linked back to it. And I mean, sometimes it's hormones and getting your hormones balanced out. A lot of times I see with mold is a co-infection with candida. So candida, I actually had a client who was just going through this, who had recurring yeast infections, really bad acne, daily panic attacks, issues with sleeping, and all these things. And when we worked together and ran all of her labs, we saw that she had an extreme overgrowth of candida, but a lot of the symptoms going along with mold toxicity. So what we did is we cleaned up her gut. We got her on a nutrition protocol. We got her on an exercise regimen, and then helped with some targeted nutrients and supplements. And she's not having panic attacks anymore. Mold is a big hidden underlying root cause that seriously affects neurotransmitters, sleep, and mental health. And even sometimes one of the weird things that happens with, we'll call it mold brain, is people will get intrusive thoughts where they don't consider themselves like a depressed person, but a weird depressing thought will like keep coming up, or like they don't consider themselves to be anxious, but they just have all these, I don't know how else to describe it other than they have these weird intrusive thoughts all the time. And a lot of times that is the neural inflammation that is impacting the brain. So the whole way you heal this is getting out of the moldy environment, getting on a very specific mold protocol, depending on what kind of mold you have, depending on the severity of it, what your situation is, if you have other underlying things, healing that, opening up the drainage pathways. But also, I mean, this is kind of just a life thing, is remembering mindfulness, being kind to yourself, being gracious with yourself, understanding like this is temporary, you will get better. It can get better as you help your body flush these things out and start to detox. So check for damp areas in your home, your work, your car, gym, where you spend a lot of time, because mold is airborne. Support the detox pathways, sweating, hydration, drainage support, replenishing with nutrients, brain supporting lifestyle habits. So obviously doing the best you can to prioritize sleep, anti-inflammatory foods, stress management, getting on some sort of like mindfulness, cognitive behavior therapy where you're focused on like positive things, affirmations to try to keep moving forward. And then you can consult with a practitioner like myself to help guide you through this and make sure that through actual testing, we don't just guess and do a bunch of random stuff, actually testing to see what mold toxicity you've got going on, how well your body is flushing it out, and continuing to come up with a personalized plan to get you on track to heal so that you can get back to feeling like your best self. If you would like to work with me and want my help in this, all the links to book a call with me are in the description below. Otherwise, you can check out some of the other videos I have sharing with you all the specific things around mold toxicity, what to do, and how to start your healing journey. See you in the other videos.